The young and the restless spoilers Mariah's impossible choice. Genoa City had seen its fair share of trials, but nothing could prepare Mariah Copeland for the sinister game Ian Ward was playing. For years, Mariah had fought to rebuild her life, find happiness, and carve out a place within the Newman family. Now, with her daughter Ariah, her partner Tessa Porter, and a deep bond with her mother Sharon Newman, Mariah finally felt she had it all. But Ian Ward had returned, and he wasn't just after revenge. He wanted control, and he knew exactly how to get it. Ian's shadow looms large. Ian's arrival was like a storm cloud over Mariah's life. His manipulative words echoed in her mind, his promises dripping with false sincerity. He wanted Mariah to leave Genoa City with him, claiming it was the only way to protect her family. Ian wasn't known for idle threats, and Mariah knew better than to underestimate him. "Mariah," Ian said, his voice calm but menacing, "I don't want to hurt anyone. But if you stay here, I can't guarantee their safety. You know what I'm capable of." Mariah's stomach churned. She had spent years trying to escape Ian's control, only to find herself back in his crosshairs. The stakes were higher now, not just her own safety, but the safety of everyone she loved. The target, Ariah. What terrified Mariah most was Ian's fixation on Ariah. He had a way of sensing vulnerabilities, and Mariah's love for her daughter was the biggest one of all. Though Ian hadn't made any overt threats toward Ariah, his hints were enough to send shivers down Mariah's spine. "She's such a sweet girl," Ian said casually during one of their tense encounters. "Would be a shame if something happened to her. But don't worry, Mariah, I'd never harm her. As long as you cooperate." Mariah clenched her fists, tears welling in her eyes. She wanted to scream at him, to fight back, but Ian thrived on control. Any defiance would only provoke him further. Sharon's absence. A crushing blow. Making matters worse, Sharon Newman, Mariah's greatest source of strength, was missing. Sharon had always been the one to guide Mariah through her darkest moments, but now she was gone, her disappearance a mystery that weighed heavily on Mariah's heart. With Sharon missing, Mariah felt untethered. She couldn't turn to her mother for advice, couldn't seek comfort in her wisdom. Instead, she was left to navigate Ian's dangerous ultimatum alone. The secret deal. Ian laid out his terms clearly during their next meeting. "It's simple," he said, leaning in closer, his voice like poison. "You come with me. Leave Genoa City. Leave your family, your daughter, your happiness. In return, I'll let everyone else live their lives in peace. No harm will come to them, no accidents, no disappearances. You have my word." Mariah stared at him in disbelief. "You're asking me to give up everything," she whispered, her voice trembling. "To abandon my daughter, my wife, my family. How can you expect me to do that?" Ian smirked. "Because I know you, Mariah. You'd do anything to protect them. Even if it means sacrificing your own happiness." Mariah's agonizing decision that night. Mariah sat in Ariah's nursery, watching her daughter sleep. Tears streamed down her face as she thought about Ian's ultimatum. How could she leave Ariah? The thought of not watching her grow up, of missing her first words, her first steps, was unbearable. But the alternative, the staying and risking Ian's wrath, was equally unthinkable. Mariah's mind was a whirlwind of fear and guilt. She thought of Tessa, the love of her life, and how devastated she would be if Mariah disappeared. She thought of her family, her brother Nick, her sister Faith, and the bond they all shared. And she thought of Sharon, still missing, and how much she needed her mother now more than ever. But Ian's words haunted her, "If you stay, they'll never be safe." The goodbye that wasn't Mariah knew she couldn't tell anyone about Ian's ultimatum. If she did, Ian might retaliate. So she made her decision alone, writing letters to her family, each one filled with apologies and explanations she hoped they would one day understand. To Tessa, she wrote, "I love you more than anything, but I can't let you or Ariah be hurt because of me. Please take care of her, love her the way I would. And don't look for me, it's the only way to keep you both safe. To Nick, you've always been my rock. Please take care of everyone. I'm doing this for all of you. To Sharon, if she ever returned, I need you to forgive me, Mom. I'm doing what I think you'd want me to do, protecting the people I love. Please tell Ariah about me when she's old enough to understand. A mother's heartbreak. The next morning, Mariah stood in the doorway of her home, suitcase in hand. Ariah's laughter echoed from the living room as Tessa played with her. For a moment, Mariah hesitated. Could she really walk away from everything she loved? Her hands trembled as she gripped the suitcase tighter. I'm doing this for them, she whispered to herself. This is the only way. But as she took her first step toward the door, something in her heart resisted. Ian had cornered her, manipulated her, and stolen her sense of control. Could she really let him win? Could she abandon her daughter and family without a fight? The question of sacrifice. Mariah's story hangs in the balance, her choice defining not just her own fate, but the safety of everyone she loves. Will she sacrifice her happiness to protect her family? Or will she find a way to fight back against Ian Ward's hold over her life? The clock is ticking, and the stakes have never been higher. This storyline adds emotional depth and tension, highlighting Mariah's struggle between self-sacrifice and resistance. Let me know if you'd like to explore how Mariah's decision unfolds or add more perspectives to the narrative. Mariah's heartbreaking sacrifice. In the quiet hours of the night, Mariah Copeland sat at her desk, pen trembling in her hand as she poured her heart into a letter she hoped her family would never have to read. Her choice had been made, and though every fiber of her being ached at the thought of leaving her loved ones, she couldn't allow her happiness to come at the cost of their safety. Ian Ward's ultimatum was cruel, but it was clear either Mariah left Genoa City with him, or the people she loved most, her mother Sharon, her wife Tessa, her daughter Ariah, and her family, would suffer. As Mariah finished the letter, tears blurred her vision. The weight of her decision pressed heavily on her chest, but she believed it was the only way to protect her family. The letter, a mother's goodbye. Mariah placed the letter where she knew Tessa would find it, her words carefully chosen to convey her love and her hope for the future. Tessa, my love, I never imagined a day where I'd have to write something like this. Please know that this isn't your fault, it's not anyone's fault. I love you and Ariah more than anything in this world, and that's why I have to do this. Ian Ward has left me no choice, but I promise you, this isn't the end. I'll find a way back to you. Please take care of Ariah, love her the way I would. Tell her that her mommy loves her and that I'll see her again someday. You've made me so happy, Tess. You gave me the life I never thought I deserved. Please don't hate me for leaving, it's the only way to keep you both safe. All my love, forever and always, Mariah. To her family, she left similar words of love and reassurance, asking them to trust her and to take care of one another. Her final plea was simple, don't come looking for me. The departure. Before dawn, Mariah kissed a sleeping Ariah on the forehead, her tears soaking into her daughter's soft hair. I love you, she whispered, her voice breaking. She lingered for a moment, memorizing every detail of her daughter's peaceful face, then slipped out the door with nothing but a small suitcase and the weight of her decision. Ian Ward was waiting for her in a car parked a few blocks away. He greeted her with a smug smile, his satisfaction evident. You made the right choice, he said as Mariah climbed into the passenger seat, her face pale but resolute. I'm doing this for them, Mariah replied coldly. Not for you. Ian chuckled. Of course. Whatever helps you sleep at night. A life in captivity. Life with Ian Ward was everything Mariah had feared. He was manipulative, controlling, and unpredictable. He treated her less like a companion and more like a trophy, parading her around as if her presence legitimized his twisted vision of the world. Though she hated every moment, Mariah endured it for the sake of her family. She reminded herself daily that her sacrifice meant they were safe. But the thought of being bound to Ian until his death, a prospect that could take years, was almost too much to bear. Mariah's only solace was the hope that Ian's age and declining health would eventually catch up to him. She clung to the belief that his reign of terror would end soon, and that she would one day return to her family. The family's struggle back in Genoa City, Mariah's family was devastated by her disappearance. Tessa, inconsolable, clutched the letter Mariah had left behind, reading and rereading it in search of answers. Nick, Faith, and the rest of the Newman family rallied around her, vowing to find Mariah no matter what. But the hardest blow was dealt to Sharon, who was still missing at the time of Mariah's departure. When she finally resurfaced, weak but alive, the news of Mariah's sacrifice hit her like a freight train. Sharon blamed herself for not being there to protect her daughter, and she became consumed with the need to bring Mariah home. Ian's power play. Ian, meanwhile, reveled in his perceived victory. With Mariah by his side, he felt untouchable. He began to manipulate her further, testing her loyalty and pushing her to the brink of despair. But what Ian didn't realize was that Mariah was quietly plotting her escape. She watched him closely, noting his weaknesses and biding her time. She knew she couldn't overpower him directly, but she hoped to outsmart him. Mariah's inner conflict. Though Mariah's resolve remained strong, the weight of her decision wore on her. She missed her family terribly, especially Ariah. The thought of missing her daughter's milestones, her first words, her first steps, was a constant source of heartbreak. At night, when Ian was asleep, Mariah would sit by the window, staring out at the stars and whispering to herself. "Hold on a little longer," she would say, as if her words could reach her family across the distance. "I'll come back to you. I promise." Will Mariah's sacrifice be worth it? The question loomed large over Mariah's decision. Would Ian's death truly bring her freedom? Or would his manipulative legacy outlast him, trapping her even after he was gone? Mariah's strength lay in her unwavering love for her family, but her sacrifice came at an immense personal cost. As the days turned into months, and the months into years, her hope remained fragile but unbroken. Would her gamble pay off? Or would Ian Ward find a way to extend his control, even in death? This chapter paints a poignant picture of Mariah's sacrifice and the emotional toll it takes on her and her family. The story remains open-ended, leaving room for a future confrontation between Mariah and Ian, or perhaps a dramatic rescue by her loved ones. Let me know how you'd like to continue.